بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sumayya Hassan and welcome to Aspire. In today's session, as we continue our leadership and management series, I want us to talk about organizational culture. We keep hearing this big animal called culture. And you go to certain places and you get amazing service. And when you ask, you're told, oh, that's the culture. And you go to other places and the service is deplorable. And you're told, oh, that's the culture. That's the culture of this place. They are very bureaucratic. That's the culture. They are very slow. Oh, whatever. That's the culture. They have excellent service. So what is this thing called culture? And how do we change from a culture that may not be value adding to a more positive culture? How do we consolidate and build on a positive culture that is already there? What is culture? Culture has been defined in one way as how people think, how they respond, and how they behave in a group. You could have somebody saying, well, I have a culture of my own, but normally when we talk about culture, we're addressing a group. How do the people think? How do they respond? How do they behave? Why is it that people who've come from completely different backgrounds, they have different, perhaps parts of the country, different religions, different socio-economic backgrounds, they come to the office, for example, and they end up behaving the same? What is this thing that makes them almost think the same or respond in a similar way or behave similarly? That's the culture we are talking about. And it's very important that as a leader, you understand what is the culture of your organization. And you can pick culture up from many different things. What I started by saying, how are your people, how do they think? Are they very quick to look at who to blame? That could be your culture of scapegoat, of always passing the buck onto somebody else. Or do you have a culture of taking responsibility where somebody stands up and says, yes, I did this, these were my reasons, this is where I went wrong, and this is what I have learned? Or is the culture there a culture of fear? Because the minute you do something wrong, the sky comes down on your neck. And so the culture is of evasiveness and hiding. How do your people respond when there's an issue? Are they quick to say, that's not my job? My role is only to work from A to B. C to D is somebody else's role. And perhaps it's a customer who is being given that answer. How do they behave when they are in a group? Are they cordial to each other? Are they friendly and working as a group that is aligned in the same direction? Are they throwing words and mudslinging each other? This starts to tell you what the corporate culture is. So it is very important that you understand what is the existing culture and what would you like to see? What is this new culture that you would like in the event that what you have does not work for you? And we have many different places that we can take examples from. So, for instance, we keep hearing that, the Rwandese culture is clean. The country is very clean. That's their culture. What does that mean? It means that the people, wherever you go, the way they will behave towards cleanliness, if somebody sees rubbish on the ground, they will pick it, they will throw it in the dustbin. First, they will not throw rubbish on the ground. And if they find it, they will pick it and throw it. And they will not wait to be told. They are not going to do that only because somebody is there supervising. No, this is what they do because this is what they do. That is how they behave. Now, have you asked yourself, how did they acquire this culture? Were they always like this? We had an interesting opportunity to learn how they did this. And they weren't always like this, So it was a mixture of rules set down by the government, very hefty penalties, enforcement, and a few other measures in the initial instance. Eventually, people bought into this, and now it's just become part of their culture. They don't need anyone supervising them. They don't need any penalty. They do it because that's how they behave. They keep their country clean. That is their culture. And so it is possible to bring about the type of culture that you want by being very clear on what are the achievements that you're looking for. What are your rituals? What are your narratives? What are your artifacts? And what type of skills do you need to build the type of culture that you're looking for? All these contribute to what is comprised in this thing called culture. Remember also, one of the things that will work against the culture that you want are your myths. What are your myths? You need to debunk your myths. And if you're not clear about your myths, you may not understand why you have the type of culture that you have, despite everything you're saying, is because you don't understand the myth. We have an example that was given, a story that was told about a monastery. And in that monastery, while the monks were in the monastery praying, there's a certain cat who used to live in the monastery that would go into their prayer room. And it would be rubbing itself against them and essentially interrupting their concentration. So what did they do? They would take the cat and take it outside of the prayer room. And the cat, as cats do, may go back in and is removed again and go back in. So eventually what they would do when they are going into their prayer, they would take the cat outside and tie it so that the cat does not go in to disturb them while they are praying. Fast forward 2 generations later, the reason for the cat being outside was not known. It was now lost. But the understanding in that monastery was, for you to have a successful prayer session, there should be a cat outside the prayer room tied. No one thought to ask, what is the source of this cat story? Does really having a cat tied outside the prayer room improve your prayers? It was almost taken to be so, without anybody reflecting on the genesis. And the genesis was that the original cat was disturbing them, and it was being removed to stop it disturbing them. It was not there to help improve their prayer. So you must ask yourself in your organization, do you have a cat outside your room? And what is that cat outside your room? What are those myths that are distracting you from achievement of the type of objectives and the culture that you want because of the myths that you have set for yourself as an organization, or that you came in and found and nobody questioned? This is how we have always done our things, and you have simply continued from there. When we think of culture, one of the things is our values. What are those aspirational beliefs that guide us? The other thing is our traits. What are our tendencies? How do we behave in certain situations? And then our behaviors. What do we actually do? And remember, if you want to change the culture, you need to focus on the key behaviors. And you need to focus on leadership at all levels. It is not only the management team that will change the culture. And as you implement, start small, take one thing, implement, learn, adjust, change, learn, adjust, bring the next one. This is how you'll do it. When we are looking about changing the culture, there are a couple of things I want to emphasize. Number one, have red and green behaviors. The red behaviors are the things that you will not accept in your organization. What are those things that we will say complete no to? Those are your red behaviors, and your entire team must understand that when we say we are changing our culture, let's not just have a phrase, we are changing culture, we are changing culture. No one has any idea what that means. What you want is to specify your red behaviors. We will not accept keeping our customers waiting. We will not accept hostility towards clients. We will not accept lying. These could be some of the red behaviors. Be very clear on your red behaviors. And then be equally clear on your green behaviors. What are the things you want to bring into your organization so that the team knows what does the new culture look like? We will answer all correspondence within 24 hours. This is one of our green behaviors. We will meet and greet every customer with a smile. We will answer every phone by the third ring. All these are part of your green behaviors. And for your organization, if you're looking to change the culture, have a very clear list of your red behaviors, which you will not accept, and your green behaviors, which you're aspiring to, so that the team is moving with you in the same direction on changing the culture. And then you need to engage your team. You can't deliver culture change alone. Maybe you're doing all the green things and avoiding all the red, but the team is not. It is not possible for you as a leader to be everywhere all the time. So you need to engage your team to deliver. Now, what is the most important factor behind team engagement? Trust in the team leader. The team needs to trust you. If they are to follow your lead, they need to trust you. And you may find in very many organizations, they may have the best plans and policies in place, but the team is not rallying around them. Why? Because they don't trust the leader. They don't have confidence in the leader. So the leader needs to ensure that he or she is creating an environment that the team can trust. And how can you do that? Can you create a safety net? Creating a safety net means that the team knows and believes that you will be just and you will be fair and equitable in how you're applying the policies. You're not going to play favorites. If so-and-so does this, it's okay, they can get away with it. Somebody else does the same thing, the sky comes down on them. You will destroy trust if you do that. So be fair and equitable as a leader so that people know there is a safety net. And that is that the leader will be fair and will be just. The second thing you need to do as a leader to help build the trust of your team and to engage your team is to connect them to a cause. Why should they do this? Why do we want to change culture? After all, we have always been like this. Why do we want to change? Why is it for the advantage of the team that the customer should be happy? It is very important that you connect them to a cause. As a leader, clarify each person's role so that each of us is very clear how do we contribute to the change you're talking about. If it sounds like it's purely a management thing, it is only the people in the corner office who should do this, the rest of us don't have a role, then we will not rally around it. But if you make it sound like each of us is a critical component and has an important contribution to this cause, then we will rally around it. The leader needs to engage the team, and the leader needs to build trust. Without that, it's very important, it's very difficult to bring about the change. Once you've done that, you need to set the example. You may have a very beautiful red list of things to avoid and green list of things to do, but you as a leader are completely breaching all of those. You can't do that. You cannot be on a mode of do as I say and not as I do. As a leader, that is not your role. You need to set the example, be the role model of these behaviors that you're seeking to bring. And as I have said in other sessions of Aspire, communication. You need to communicate this very clearly so that everybody understands where it is we want to go, how will we get there, what are the behaviors that will show the new culture that we want to achieve, and what is my role in it. And finally, I want to remind us, when we are talking about culture change, the two fundamental things we want to be clear about: what are our red and green behaviors? And what is the leadership capacity to help drive the engagement that will lead to this change? And finally, remember that culture takes a long time to build, but can be broken in an instant. If you're not careful about walking the talk, all those years of hard work can be broken in an instant by those who may not have understood or are not walking the talk as far as the culture is concerned. So the positive reinforcement as we keep going along is very important. Every once in a while, you want to remind the team, this is our culture. This is what we do. This is why we do what we do. So that even the people who come later still understand why there was a cat outside the room. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.